Thank you for joining. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear
Um,
me?
yeah, I got you. So we
Okay.
will begin here shortly. Just getting a few more people online.
Okay.
So welcome everyone. We are with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch, and we're going to have our student panel member join us here in a moment. I wanted to take a second and talk about my journey with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. And when I first connected with the branch, it was back in 2017, and it was with the former president, Jane Cooper, who is still part of the board. And in that meeting, she told me reading is a human rights. And that is why this work has been so important. And I felt such a responsibility to the dyslexia community to be continuing to advocate and bringing awareness to the topic of dyslexia. And I'm looking around at what is going on in our country right now. And I was so heartbroken and saddened with the events that took place last week. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter, because in order for all lives to matter, we need to understand that Black Lives Matter. And while I understand, I will not ever be able to fully understand. It is definitely a responsibility to acknowledge what is going on and to work to the best of my ability to continue to educate myself and to do better for our community. And with that, I would like to bring on Rylie. Rylie, welcome to the
Hi.
show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Rylie, I have so many questions for you, but I'd love for you to tell the audience just some of your hobbies and your interests, just to start.
Okay. I do competitive cheerleading, and I've been doing that for like about 8 years. I ski. I snowboard too a little bit, but I prefer skiing. Uh, I love to go outside, and I love to like explore and vacation and stuff like that.
Very cool.
And yeah.
So, but that hasn't always been the easiest thing for you, has it?
No. I got diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 8. And so like I learned how to advocate for myself in cheerleading and like sports and stuff to like tell my coaches and stuff that some things weren't like gonna like be as easy for me. Some things I couldn't do because it was hard on my back and stuff. So I learned how to like advocate for myself more through that. And then when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, um, I'd like already kind of know how to like tell people that like I struggle in areas.
So it was one situation kind of led you to being able to advocate for yourself in another. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
What? So okay, talk to me about going through a surgery and and that process. How has that been for you? Has it been adverse? Has it been smooth? What has that transition been for you?
Um, it's been it was hard at first. Like the first few months were couple pretty rough. But like once I like got through like most of the healing and stuff, it was pretty smooth and I just like was easy on my body and as I like worked into things, it just got better and better as I moved around more and more.
It's, do you feel like you can just take on any situation given that plus dyslexia? Like, do you feel like you
Yeah,
have this
pretty
resiliency?
much.
So
Yeah.
you're advocating for, is it Dornbecker or
Shriners
Trident?
Hospital for
Okay.
Children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and then being diagnosed with dyslexia, now you're also advocating for the International Dyslexia Association. So you've
Yeah.
got two campaigns going on. It's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. And can you remind us where you're at in school right now? grade-wise?
I'm in 8th grade, but I'm going into 9th grade.
Okay, and when were you diagnosed with dyslexia?
6th grade.
6th grade. Okay, so a little bit on the later side of things. Was that a challenge for you?
Yeah. It was definitely like harder. Not like it was always just you have ADD and anxiety and all that. And so now it was never just dyslexia. It was just like you struggle with reading and you have these, but it was never just like this is your issue, which was always really annoying.
Oh, that's tough. What okay, so you're at your old school. Did you have accommodations, or can you take us through that process of getting
Okay.
accommodations and what that's been like?
Yeah, so at my old school, my school I went to for like through 2nd grade to all the way to what was it, 7th grade, so last year. It was like all up until like 6th grade, it was I had a 504, and it was just like for ADD and stuff like that. And so I had some of the accommodations I still have, but it was like it was just not enough. And so and the teachers didn't like do it as much. They weren't as strict about it. So my mom like pushed for an IEP, and they didn't want they thought that since I had good grades that I didn't need to be tested, or like that I was just fine. So then my mom really just pushed and pushed, and so they finally said, okay, we'll test her. So they started testing me, just to like give me an IEP, at school. They wouldn't let me do it anywhere else. So I did it at school, and it was like for about a month. I was pulled out of math class, and they would test me, the school psychologist, and through that they discovered that I had eye problems. So they made me do. They thought that since I had dyslexia that I had vision problems. So they made me do eye therapy for the rest of 6th and 7th grade. And yeah, so I was always pulled out of class for occupational therapy, and they would give me the accommodations I needed. Um, like I
What
got
were some of those?
audio and everything.
Yeah,
Audio.
audio.
I got, yeah, like all the dyslexia accommodations were pretty much given to me because I could just tell them I need this, and they would give it to me, and the teachers would completely follow through with everything. It was just like you have eye problems. It was just really knowing them, like not just like being like, oh yeah, you're dyslexic. They had no clue what dyslexia was whatsoever.
So, okay, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Rylie, diagnosed with dyslexia, advocate of dyslexia, as well as scoliosis. So if you have questions, please feel free to jump on and ask. But I would love to have you tell the audience what it was like to be pulled out of the classroom for a month.
It was it was really annoying because other kids would ask, and they'd be like, "Why are they pulling you out?" And I was like, "Testing." Like, I don't really know why they're pulling me out because I already know that I'm dyslexic. Like, they just wanted to like know that themselves, like, oh, we tested her, we tested her, we're so good.
and and so when did you transition to your other school? Was that recent?
That was this year. This year was my first year at my new school.
Okay. And how has that process been?
Okay, so since I already had an IEP at my old school, the same IEP just came with me to my new school. But at this school, they go with, okay, yeah, your parents say you're dyslexic. Yeah, you're dyslexic. And since I already had the accommodations on my IEP, I had the same ones at my new school. They just don't really follow through with them, like at all. So they say that I'm dyslexic, but they don't really, I don't think, have an understanding about what it is, because the accommodations are not given to me that I need. So I really have to advocate for myself, which is definitely hard at times.
What is so a lot of our students talk about the challenges of advocating when they've either they've they've either been told that there is an agreement and that they should be getting these accommodations, but it's the re-ask. It's the going up and saying, hey, remember, I'm not supposed to popcorn read, which is when everyone is assigned a certain chapter reading aloud. What has that experience been like for you?
It was like, it's hard to be, it's definitely hard to just stand up and be like, nope, I get this, or like, you're supposed to give me that. It's like, because I feel like it's hard. You're like, oh, am I being rude? Like, I don't think I'm supposed to boss the teacher around. It's like questions like that that go through your head, and you're like, but I don't want to be like different from other kids, and I don't want to act like I need help or anything like that. But you just need to, like, what I like to do is email my teacher after school, just like email her and just be like, hey, this wasn't given to me in class today. And normally it goes pretty well. And if they don't, then I'm just like, here's my AP. I get this.
Well, it's impressive, and I applaud you for taking those steps, because that isn't easy to do. So it's brave, and it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing. So I think it's important to acknowledge. Okay, so you're at your new school. You're battling now accommodations. What would you say the biggest difference? Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to either be battling or doing extra work at your other school? If you had the choice, have you thought about like which is the lesser of two evils?
I liked the other two. I think I liked the other school better, because it was like, I could just be like, hey, I need this, and they'd be like, oh yeah, okay. Like, they were super like calm about it, because like I feel like they were just like, oh, she's a vision problem, like it's a big deal, like, so they were a lot more like serious about it. At my new school, it's like, oh, you're dyslexic, like you're fine, like you can do your own thing. But it's like totally like I need way more help. So I definitely prefer the other school, even though it was a lot of extra stuff involved. I got all the things I needed.
Yeah, that it totally makes sense what you're saying. Okay, so talk to me about your advocacy story. You have a really unique story of how you joined the International Dyslexia Association and the student panel. Can you share that with the audience?
Okay, so I had I was like really good friends with a girl that was dyslexic, and she's on our panel too. Her name's Kylie, and she had been diagnosed like a few years before me, and she told me that she was like, oh yeah, like there's this book club, and it was ran by her tutor Shelby. And so I was like, okay, I'll join the book club with you. So we joined the book club. And I was like, oh gosh, like this might not be good, like I can't read. So we joined the book club, and it was like, there's food there. Like, Shelby had candy and food, and she ran it like an adult book club, because she thinks that like that's gonna get us to go, and it totally worked. So I go to the book club, and it's a horrible book, and none of us liked it. And I was like the only one that read it, because I was introduced to all the technology through Shelby, and she was like, there's this audio. So I was listening to the book, and even though the book was totally boring, but then she was like, oh yeah, like you seem pretty good with technology. So I go to a panel, and I go to like one of the lectures, and she was like, yeah, you can go, and then we'll get Burgerville afterwards. Or no, it wasn't Burgerville, it was Red Robin. So I go, and then we get Red Robin after. So I was like, this is great. I mean, I get food.
I feel like
So
that is her that is her recruiting tool. It's either been Burgerville or candy or now Red Robin. So Shelby, you are Shelby's acknowledging that it was a horrible book, but Shelby,
terrible.
Shelby, you're a great recruiter though. Like you do us proud with recruiting. So we thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Yes, Jane, she's a great teacher too.
Yeah.
um, what would you like educators to know about, if you got a message to educators about dyslexia?
Um, I'd say like get to know like the student like more like what they like need more because there's so many like different ways people get like help like my friend Kylie, she like is totally different even though we're both dyslexic. We totally like um we always need different accommodations, so like just get to know what each student needs on a personal level.
Greg, thanks for joining. See you there. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Um, so, okay, on that note, do you have a message for students about dealing with adversity? You've had two major things happen early in your life. Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely, we need to get a run
Okay,
soon,
so
Greg.
um okay, I'll just do two different. For like dyslexia, it was just like get to know what you need. Like get to know like yourself better and like what you need in school to be more successful. Like experiment with like audio and like electronics because I think that like that was like the biggest like help was just like figuring out what like tools to use because the teachers aren't always going to be able to work one-on-one with you. So for you to have the audio is just like a big like game changer for sure. And then for scoliosis, I would just say like trust your doctors and to trust them that they're the professional. I never would trust them. So it was just like always hard. Into surgery, there's a lot of anxiety. And so, yeah, trusting the doctor is a big one.
Totally. So we got a question from Jane on the line. Do you think you would have survived in school without private tutoring?
No, definitely not. Because that's how I was introduced to like all the tools and stuff. And Shelby's the one that was like, okay, go get tested. Like you need to fight the school. Like, come on. And so definitely not. Because that's the reason I got diagnosed and all that.
Totally. What? Okay, so then I want you to tell the audience again, just because I want to make sure it's clear. Tell the audience your two groups that you're advocating for. Where are you aligned? Where can people follow?
Okay. Um, I International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. I'm on the student panel, and then I also advocate for Shriners Hospital for Children in Portland, and they share my story with other people on their website and all through like it's actually going to be in a magazine, my story, so
Oh
I'll
no.
get to meet other kids and stuff and help them through their surgery and all that.
What magazine is it going to be in? Is it?
It's gonna be, I want to say the September magazine.
Okay.
It's just the Shriners one. It's gonna be an upcoming one.
Awesome. So you can look for Rylie if you're online. Again, drop us questions if you have them, but you'll be able to follow Riley's story in Shriners Magazine. Looks like it's coming out in September. Rylie, so here's the rule on this show. You get the last word. It can be a message on to any teacher. And you can you get to call it.
Okay, so I'd say for students, just or like kids or teachers, um, you're not alone at all. And whatever your problem is, like whether it's a health problem or reading or whatever it is, you're not alone. And there's other people out there that are struggling too. And you just have to figure out what you need to be successful.
Such a powerful line. You are not alone, and what this community can do. And to Jane, your point, yeah, we need to do a better job of building a system that can take care of everyone, especially the students that can't afford private tutoring. And
Yeah.
Rylie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. And we wish you the best in finishing school, as well as we look forward to reading more about you. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.